My name is Chris Number 2. I play bass and sing in the band Anti-Flag.
My name is Pat. I play drums.
My name is Justin Singh, and I play guitar and I sing.
My name is Chris, and I play guitar.
And you sing too.
Yeah. And we're 19 years old. The idea behind the name Anti-Flag is that we need to treat each other as human beings because we're not religions, we are not skin colors, we are not sexual preference, we're not nationalities. When it comes down to it, we're human beings, we're not flags. So I wanted to make the statement that we need to see each other as human beings and treat each other as people. I think we're a straight edge band in the idea that none of us drink or smoke or use drugs. We're not a straight edge band in the idea that if you're not straight edge, we're going to kick your ass, and that we think you're a horrible person. But I think there are a lot of reasons why. I think probably for all of us, it's a different reason why we don't smoke or drink or whatever. I think there's the political side of it. I mean, the cigarette companies are some of the most evil companies on the face of the earth, and I don't want to support them.
Also, a big part of what we do as Anti-Flag is trying to be focused on what's happening in the now, and it's a lot harder to do that if you're stumbling through every day. Let my imagination go and drop.
For me personally, I try not to subscribe to one political ideology. You can point at one political ideology and say, that's the perfect political ideology, and that's exactly how things should be. And I think the best thing to do is take a synthesis of all of the best ideas and strive towards that goal.
And we definitely have heroes within different ideologies, and the Green Party obviously has a very progressive political platform that we support, but there's ebb and flow with everything. So there's always a some things that we agree with and some things that we disagree with. I think growing up in this society, we are always told that violence is always on the table and always an option. Some people think that it's an option earlier on. I think it's sort of like being an alcoholic or being a drug addict. You're always fighting that urge to be violent every day. So if you can make that effort and try and find other solutions, it's always better. Depends on whether there's a higher good involved. If you're on a playground and getting your head kicked in, there's not a higher good involved. If you're Gandhi and at the Salt Flats, there's a higher good involved. Yeah, we've been asked this question a lot, and it's interesting because you don't do what we do because you think that there's no chance for success. We truly are indoctrinated by the myth of America and the fact that everybody should get a fair chance. And when we get up in the morning and do what we do, that is the underlying current to what we do. And if you said that you hated the ideas of America, it would be counterproductive. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I think the idea of having pride in a place just because you're born there is just a stupid, brainwashed, narrow-minded way of looking at things. You can't tell me that just because you were born in the Nazi Third Reich that the Nazi Third Reich is a good thing. I would think most people nowadays would agree that no, it's not a good thing. And it's the same thing with being born into the United States, to say that, I was born here, therefore this is the best place in the world. I just think it's counterproductive. There's good things about the States and there's bad things about the States. For us, I think that we want to address the problems that are here and make it the best place that it can possibly be. But more than that, we want to make the world the best place the world can possibly be. So it has to go beyond national boundaries.
It is not, and I think
it was written way before we knew who David Havoc was.
Each person that writes a song, and that song is sincere, it has to be influenced from something. There needs to be some force that gets pen moving on paper to write the song. And for each of us, it just happens to be politics that gets the pen moving. There are an immense amount of things that influence us daily, but Anti-Flag is very focused, and whenever Anti-Flag sits down to write a record, we want to figure out the best way that our 30 minutes of music is going to be impactful on the world. And
Also, I think that music is from Woody Guthrie to Bob Dylan to the people before that I'm not educated enough to know about. But they've used music because it inspires people and causes an emotional reaction. And I think that that if we can get people to be excited about an idea or angry about an idea, I think it's very effective.
You're kind of going in a second part of the question, which is, does political music make a change? And yes, it does. If you look at Bob Marley, why did they try to assassinate Bob Marley? Because if he endorsed a candidate in his country, that candidate won. I mean, that's
power.
That is power via music. It 100% does not disappoint us that that there are young people that go out to shows. A lot of the criticisms that Anti-Flag gets are, oh, I would go to their show, but it's a bunch of 15-year-old kids. That's all well and good if you don't like 15-year-old kids, but I would rather play music with a group of people who are charged and excited about the possibilities of change. And young people have that.
Sorry.
The Little Drummer Boy and I agree that we do like to have fun.
As opposed to other people who don't like fun.
Right, yeah.
It's good. No fun.
That's the thing. The reason we write serious songs is that we want the world to be a totally unfun place.
Yeah.
We work every day to make the world
The
unfun.
problem is, we write so many songs. Like, I would say the last record we had probably 3,000 songs written for it.
Times 10.
Times 10. Most of them were about partying and doing blow.
Getting wasted.
And Chris Head vetoes them all because he does not want the songs to be fun.
Got run by me.
Exactly. And we ran
The blow.
we ran this song, the hit song War Sucks, Let's Party.
Yeah.
We ran the hit song Doing Blow off of George Bush's ass is something to do. Chris didn't like any of them.
Yeah.
He was like, no, they can't make light of any situations.
Exactly.
And that's where we're at.
He was like, man, we gotta write like depressing songs, like you can kill
Watch
the
this.
protester.
See, you can't even touch him.
Can't touch that shit. No fun.
But I think that overall we just, we're
Yeah. It
it is.
Yeah. Too much fun. Okay, so
All right.
Next question.
Next question.
George W. Bush is the leader of a conservative revolution well, not a leader, but he's in the last 4 years has really taken the U.S. into an even more conservative political, economic,
Social realm.
realm.
Yeah. I mean, in every way. I mean, he's cut pretty much all social services, any protections for the environment that are significant. Bush has tried to get rid of. Women's right to choose, etc., etc. He's taken us into 2 wars. I mean, pretty much everything that I think is unprogressive as far as left political ideology is what George Bush stands for.
Or caring about people.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much he's got a big corporate logo tattooed on his forehead. And if you look at his legislation, it's consistent with standing up for big business, not for human beings, and especially not the poor. And obviously, that is not what this band is about. This band is about standing up for the oppressed and giving a voice to the oppressed. Action Alliance is an organization that we co-founded. The idea of Underground Action Alliance was to give people resources for getting involved with activism and to give people resources of what's going on in the world.
It was we came up with the idea and floated it to other people because a lot of people come up to us and ask us, we're so frustrated about what's going on, or we're angry about what's going on, but we don't know how to take advantage of that in our own communities. So it's an attempt to give people
the tools to implement change in their own community.
Punk Voter was an organization that was starting to expose the harmful policies of George Bush. Being involved with Punk Voter is great because we think that Punk Voter definitely exposes the way that George Bush is harmful to our society, to our world. The idea of submitting School of the Assassins for the Bush comp. The song is about the School of the Americas, which is a training ground for Central American troops, mercenaries. They teach basically torture techniques and counterinsurgency techniques to dictators and to people who are in regimes that are basically just trying to hold on to power, that will be friendly to U.S. multinational corporations and who will oppress their own people. Those are the kind of regimes that the Bush administration or the Bush regime supports. And so we thought, putting that song in the Bush comp made sense because it marries, here's the ideology of this school, which is this totally horrible school that's paid for and funded by U.S. tax dollars. And then here's Bush, and Bush believes in this school. So that's why we put that song on the comp. Well, as far as this current war goes, basically the war was launched on information that was false. You hear, it's funny now because after the war you hear people in the Bush regime say things like, everybody thought that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and everybody thought that he was a threat to the world, and that just makes me laugh because there were 1 million people in Rome who were protesting before the war started. Those people did not believe the intelligence that was being put out there. The United Nations did not believe Colin Powell whenever he went there to make his plea for the United Nations in invading Iraq. I would make the argument that the majority of people around the world believed that Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction, was not a threat to anyone outside of his own borders. So this war was completely unjustified in that they just used lies to go in and take over Iraq for Iraq's resources, for its oil, for the fact that U.S. corporations could go in and get really great contracts that were given to them by the Bush regime and by people in the Bush regime who are connected with those companies, like Dick Cheney being connected to certain companies that were given billion-dollar contracts. So obviously, to me, in my eyes, this war was about what most wars are about, which is money. Well, obviously, 9/11 was a tragedy, and killing people is not the way to solve the world's problems. If you have a beef with another country or another, government, killing people time and again has been proven out not to solve the world's problems. George Bush, it seems like he just used 9/11 as an excuse. He used 9/11 as an excuse to carry out policy that they already had in place. A project for a new American century is something that's been kicking around for years before George Bush ever came into office, and 9/11 was just a great tool to put that policy into place. If you look it up on the web, it's Project for New American Century,
or PNAC.
Yes, and basically what that talks about, it talks about taking control of the Middle East so that the United States will have dominance over the oil in the world.